address that later on in the call. Suffice to say, we're going to address how you could be listening and interacting with this conversation. We'll go over that in a few moments. We're going to do an overview of the Being a Leader and the Effective Exercise of Leadership program, which includes what you're promised out of participating in this program, which includes speculating on what we'll coach you on. We have an initiative called the Leadership Initiative. What you need to prepare and what you need to complete beforehand, before we start together on July 24th. And we'll also be having one-on-one conversations with you. So apart from this meeting that we're having today for 75 minutes, we'll offer each of you an opportunity for a one-on-one video call. And that, we'll say more about what that call is. We'll say about the questions about that. We'll cover that before the end of today's call as well. And then we'll answer your questions. So that's our agenda. Now, the intended outcome of today's conversation includes the following. So we begin with the end in mind. We're committed that at the end of our call, you're left with this, that there's a connection between us. So we're out to connect you to the Leader Circle. We use acronyms. I love acronyms. So we also go by TLC, the Leader Circle. And if you want to know more about us, simply go to our website, www.leadercircle.com. You can see our bios there. You can see who else we've worked with. You can get a sense of who we are. We're also out to connect you to the promise of the Being a Leader and the Effective Exercise of Leadership program, another acronym, BAL. And we're out to connect you to one another as participants in the Being a Leader program. So we've done our homework. Rob has been working with us for several weeks. Craig has been working with us for a couple of months. We have a sense of who's going to be in the room. We know that 15 of you are from head office. We know that there are 11 general managers. We know that there are 2 regional directors. We know we have people on this call from Edmonton. We know we have a couple people from Calgary. We know that you might know one another. However, we're all out to have you begin on this call to connect to one another in the context of being participants in the Being a Leader and the Effective Exercise of Leadership program. So that's part of why we're having this pre-course call. So another intended outcome of today is preparing you. Preparing you for what? Preparing you to powerfully launch yourself into being a leader. We're designing this call and we ask for some of your valuable time. So when we're together on July 24th, we can jump right in. There's not any warm-up. We're also out to prepare you to begin speculating on your leadership initiative so that when we're together, again, you've done the thinking. What are you going to spend these next few months working on the court, if you will, or in life, if you will, to have the program be alive and real, not only in the classroom. And then our third intended outcome for today's call is engaging you in what is possible for you from your participation in being a leader, and engaging you. We will address your questions, we'll address your comments, and we'll address any of what we call your yeah buts. Yeah, but what about that? So that's our intended outcome for the call. Okay, now the logistics of this webinar. The conversation is scheduled 1:30 to 2:45 Pacific Daylight Time. So 2:30 for us here in Alberta, and we'll end no later than 2:45 your time. So if that's a problem for somebody, instead of simply dropping off and me wondering, oh my gosh, what did I say? You know, Andrew just dropped off all of a sudden. You know, if that's an issue for anyone, please flag us and let us know if you're not organized to be on the entire call. Okay, I'll keep going. Thank you. Also, this conversation is being recorded, and we're recording it for the benefit of those people that are unable to participate live. From time to time, we have people that, for whatever reason, they might register for the course after today's call. We'll share it with them. Rob may review it. We may review it ourselves, but we want to let you know it's recorded. Just be mindful for what you say. Okay. And then we request that you read the slides silently to yourself as we go through today's conversation. Once we're together, we'll say more about that methodology, that approach. However, what our colleagues have found and what tests have shown is your ability to comprehend information and retain it goes up exponentially if you both listen to the speaker and you read the slide silently to yourself. And we ask that you share or ask a question, simply come off mute and say your name to get our attention, and then return yourself to mute afterwards. You guys are being great about that right now as we're going through it. Thank you for that. And we ask that you continue to be responsible for any background noise as you participate on this call. That is, please stay muted unless you're sharing. Okay, so the program and webinar schedule. This is a webinar. We have 3 webinars throughout our time together. We're on today, as I said. We're physically together for 2 sessions. Session A is July 24th, 25th. We start at 8:30 sharp. We'll end no later than 6 o'clock Vancouver time. And on the last day, which is a Friday, July 26th, we'll end no later than 4:30. For people that have flights to catch, you can make those plans. Then we'll come back together for our second webinar on August 6th from 1:30 to 2:45 Pacific. Then we'll come back physically for session B on August 27th, August 28th. Again, we start at 8:30 sharp. We'll go no later than 6 o'clock. And on the Thursday, which is August 29th, again, we'll end no later than 4:30. We'll provide you with a lunch. We'll have breaks during the day. We do ask that you organize yourself so you have nothing else going on. It's not the type of program where you can be there and then duck out for a conference call or just quote unquote go back to head office for a little bit. So we ask that you organize yourself ahead of time, that you work it all out. Now, if you can see already that there's something preventing you from participating in the full Being a Leader in the Effective Exercise of Leadership program, which includes all 3 of these webinars, the September 10th webinar as well, and which includes session A and session B. If there's anything at all preventing you from being there for the full time, we request you bring it to our immediate attention or bring it to Rob's attention, and we can do one of 2 things. We can actually look to how we can work it out for you to have both whatever you're dealing with and your full participation, or we can look with you and Rob at having you taking a future course. Okay. All right. The session venue is at the Loft, and here's the address, 1095 Mainland Street in Yaletown. I've never been there. I assume most of you have, and it looks like a phenomenal facility. Okay, Rob, anything else before we move into?
No, that feels clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Okay, over to you, Kelly.
Great. Well, first of all, I know we know that you have very busy schedules, and to interrupt your day the way that we are to prepare you for this program, we want you to know we don't take it for granted. And also, we are going through each of these details, because one of the things that we have found is that for those of you who can be prepared and really prepare yourselves with integrity for this program, you will be amazed at what becomes possible for you. So really starting the course out very powerfully. Each of you, as you come to this program, you have a particular listening that's there as leaders. You have all the personal growth and development programs that you've been in. You have the great programs that you've participated in at Earl's, and you've had some of the distinctions from this 6-day program presented to you in different ways. So there's going to be a lot of different listenings, you could say, in the program. And one of them that we definitely want to deal with is that you distinguish for yourself anything that's there for you about, I already know this, or this sounds familiar, or that you're comparing whatever you're getting from some other program you've been in. which is not a problem. You just want to notice when that's happening for you. You know, one of the things that the brain does at the level of subconscious is it literally starts to take what's coming at it and through the law of association, try to associate what it's hearing with what it already knows. So it's not a problem that you'll be dealing with that. And what we want you to be is responsible for that when that's happening for you when you're listening. Okay? So lots of different kinds of listenings in the room. And for some of you that may make sense to you. For some of you that might be new, us addressing what's in the listening. So if you have any questions about that, at the end of the call, we'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions. And that particular question might be best addressed in your one-on-one conversations with each of us. Okay, so anything else, Brian, for you with that?
Nope, right on. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay, let's move on. Yeah, so, you know, this particular program, as Rob was stating, is 6 days, and we've got our 3 calls, and we are making a promise to you, okay? We're making a promise, and what we're promising, are you there, Brian? Yeah, is that you will leave this course being a leader and exercising leadership effectively as your natural self-expression. And while you will not necessarily have all the experience and the knowledge that you need to be a truly extraordinary leader, you will have experienced whatever personal transformation is required for you to be a leader in any environment and no matter what conditions you are confronted. And even when you personally lack certain experience or knowledge, you will know what to do to be an effective leader and really be a leader in your own life. So each of you are leaders at Earl's, but you're also leaders of your own life. You all have families and communities and other areas of your life that you're out to impact. And what's great about this promise is it'll be any circumstance that you will have that kind of power. So after years of working with this ontological, phenomenological approach, we have found that the conditions for realizing the promise of the course and the rules of the game must be honored. And as we've defined honored in our new model of integrity, to allow all participants to realize the maximum value from this course. So during your participation in this course, please do whatever you have to do to honor the conditions for realizing the promise of the course and the rules of the game as outlined. So we're going through the conditions, but there's also rules of the game. Some of you may be familiar with the conditions and the rules of the game. They could have been used in your other programs. And one of the things that you will notice is, and for those of you not familiar with our methodology, is once again, we have terms of art that may not make sense to some of you today. And after this call, you will be getting the pre-course reading materials. And the pre-course reading materials will support you in understanding the language of this even more in preparation for our first 3 days together. Okay, so what are the conditions that I must fulfill to realize the promise of this course? As I said, this will be in your pre-course reading materials. But first, we're going to go over this. One is we're asking you to be willing to discover and confront your inauthenticities. So what does that mean? Well, where you're not being genuine or you're not being real or authentic, where in your life you're not being or acting consistent with who you hold yourself out to be for others, and where you're not acting consistent with who you hold yourself to be for yourself. And really be willing to tell the truth And that takes courage, by the way. Be willing to tell the truth about where you're not being genuine in your leadership or real or authentic. And what this looks like as lived is being authentic about your inauthenticities. And what we mean by as lived is about like what's actually happening when it's happening. And there'll be a lot more about that. And two, be willing to be open and ruthlessly straight about your ways of being and acting. So as leaders and living your life, you have all kinds of ways of being and acting in all kinds of different situations. And what we're asking you to do is really explore, really discover for yourself, really in what's happening, discovering for yourself where you're being inauthentic. What is that way of being? And we're going to get into all that a lot more. So we're also asking you to be open to having your frame of reference. In other words, you have a network of ideas and beliefs and biases and prejudices and social and cultural embeddedness and taken for granted assumptions regarding what it is to be a leader and what the effective exercise of leadership is, and have it be examined and questioned and be open to transforming that frame of reference. And be open to having your frame of reference and network of ideas and beliefs and biases and prejudice and social and cultural embeddedness and taken for granted assumptions for who you are for yourself really examined and questioned, and be open to transforming that frame of reference. And that's what transformation is all about, that kind of willingness to explore and question. So A, given that it's essential in developing yourself as a leader, in this course, we will be examining and questioning the constraints and shaping that's imposed by your frame of reference relative to leader and the effective exercise of leadership, and your frame of reference relative to who you are for yourself. And be open to having your worldview examined and questioned, and be open to actually transforming your worldview.
Did my friends? Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay. As we'll discuss more fully during the course, one's worldview constrains and shapes one's frame of reference relative to leader and leadership, and one's frame of reference relative to who one is for oneself. And we will be particularly concerned with that aspect of one's worldview that constrains and shapes one's frame of reference relative to leader and leadership and relative to oneself. We're also asking you to be willing to take on fully what's presented in this course before deciding to accept or reject it. That is, to take on what's presented in the course, even if I don't like it, or I find it difficult, or I first don't agree with it. And if by the end of the course I find that it still doesn't fit for me, then I can discard it. But if during the course it does come to fit for me, then do whatever I have to do to master it. We're also asking you to participate fully and completely in the course with nothing held back. And we mean nothing held back, okay? We can deal with whatever you are dealing with. And we're also asking you to respect the dignity and the thoughts and, very importantly, the confidentiality of your classmates, as we will as well. We're also asking you to have compassion for and patience with the struggle and effort that your classmates, or even what you will go through from time to time. Which struggle and effort are required to produce the breakthroughs necessary to realize the promise of the course. And be a full partner in producing value for yourself. In fact, not waiting to have it done for you. and give your word to play by the rules of the game, which you will get in the pre-course reading materials, which you are requested to read before the course, which I have found takes about 5 hours to read, okay, the first time through. And we're asking you to commit to honor that word. And honoring that word is defined in the paper on integrity, which is in the pre-course reading. So I would take my calendar out and make sure that I have scheduled what we call occasions in my calendar, at least 5 hours to do your pre-course reading material. And then finally, be willing to recognize that in your choosing to participate in this course, that you have given your word to fulfill the conditions for realizing the promises of this course, and to play by the rules of the game, which is in the pre-course reading, and not just to give this word to yourself, but to each of your colleagues who are participating, and to your 3 instructors, and give your word that you will honor that word.
Brilliant. And what I would add, everybody, that this first sentence in what Kelly just read, we are relating to you that you have a choice, and you're here. If you show up on July 24th, that you're there by your own choice. Now, I appreciate, some of you have your boss's boss sitting right beside you, and it might occur like, Brian, you don't know us, I gotta show up. For our perspective, we're realizing and recognizing and relating to you that you're here by choice. Okay.
Okay, so some of you might be wondering, leadership initiative, what's the leadership initiative? Well, we have found it highly valuable that you have an initiative, or we like to call it a game, but an initiative that is a demonstration of you applying what you're getting out of the leadership program, really what we call on the court. In other words, that this is not theoretical. And so we want you to begin to explore a leadership initiative. And in our one-on-one conversations, we're going to talk to you more about the leadership initiative, but we want to open up this conversation with you right now to prepare you for our one-to-one conversations. So first of all, your initiative is an area of concern that really matters to you. Now, Rob, I'm just thinking here, you know how it says it makes no difference whether your initiative is in your business or outside of work? You want it to be related to work, yes? Or
I don't. I believe that it should be something that's a concern for you. So the idea is, the outcome here is to apply the concepts in the course taught through the lens of the context of leadership. So I think it's more important to me that you're doing something that you're intrinsically motivated by versus something that you feel like you have to do. So if you find that there's something that lights you up about outside of work, go for that. If it is work, that's also awesome as well. So
okay, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. Okay, so this initiative, this aspect of your initiative is about authenticity and will require a new level of authenticity on your part. Now, for some of you, that might not make much sense, but it will. So do not take something on that you think you should do or you ought to do, or to fix something, including yourself. So we don't enter this course like there's anything that needs to be fixed about you or anybody else. And we don't want you to take it on just to look good or to prove you are not the failure that you are afraid you might be. So we want you to take on something that really moves you, that you're excited about taking on, something that's actually going to forward the fulfillment of a possibility that really matters to you. So when we say something that moves you, we mean something that shifts for you. A real shift, something's happening that wasn't going to happen without you really taking this on. So 2, your initiative is about something bigger than yourself. This initiative is not about you. It's about something that's bigger than you. And if realized, will make a difference for you and others. And a successful leadership initiative will require you to engage others and enroll others to participate in the fulfillment of the initiative. So if your initiative doesn't need others to fulfill on it, then it isn't a leadership initiative. Now, the thing I also want to say about this, about something bigger than yourself, this does not mean that it's altruistic, okay? What we mean by bigger than yourself is bigger than the ways in which you wound up being, your survival mechanism, so to speak. It'll take something beyond who you have known yourself to be. Okay, and 3, your initiative realizes a future that isn't going to happen anyhow. So what does that mean? Well, it actually realizes means it has existence in an objective reality. That means it's specific, it's measurable, and time bound. So you want to create a game that you will clearly either win or lose, and you will know for sure which. So give your initiative specific, measurable outcomes that are to be realized by a specific point in time. And the time frame of your initiative can be taken between now and the end of this course, or it can be longer. Just make sure that you have some specific and impactful milestones to accomplish by the end of this course. If those outcomes occur for you as fairly predictable, what you want to do is you want to raise the bar by either shortening the time or ratcheting up the outcomes or inventing something totally new that does not, that does make your palms sweaty. And by the way, you don't have to have this all worked out before our first 3 days, okay? So we're just, like I said, we're just want you to open this up for you, okay? But sweaty palms is a good thing, okay? And no leadership is needed if it would happen anyway, or would happen with good management, which is all about managing what's predictable. Okay. So for your initiative requires that you call forth new ways of being and acting beyond who you wound up being. So if you can achieve what you set out to achieve by being who you wound up being, even if you can produce amazing results with who you wound up being, then you get a no pass on your initiative design. You'll just find yourself doing what you know to do, but perhaps more of it, or being a little bit smarter about it, or perhaps working a bit differently. So your initiative needs to require that you break through some of your ontological constraints and actually be someone beyond who you wound up being. So there's a process in this, and we're going to send this out to you before your one-on-one calls. But we're inviting you to go through this process exactly as it's designed, because it will open something up. Don't take any shortcuts here. So what we want you to do is make a list of some areas of concern. And what we mean by concern is not worry, but what matters to you, what's important to you, things that you really care about, even things that keep you up at night, things you're passionate about. And these can be in your business, in your industry, your community, society, the world, whatever turns you on in this regard. And then after you create all of that, okay, after you've really looked at what matters to you, and I invite you to do that with a buddy, pick one area that matters to you from your list, and then we want you to go through these questions. Why is this matter important to you? Why does it matter to you? What are some of your listenings that are already there or always there relative to this matter? And when you explore this area of concern in the current conversational domain that it exists inside of, what do you see are some of the unexamined ideas or beliefs or biases or prejudice or cultural embeddedness and taken for granted assumptions that show up in that current reality? And with regard to making a difference in this area, who did you wind up being? Who have you been being? Where is leadership missing in this area? If there was a breakthrough in leadership, as we've distinguished leadership in this course, and integrity and authenticity, being up to something bigger than ourselves and being cause in the matter, what new possibilities might emerge? And do any of these new possibilities call to you, like really call to you? And that's part of the process we'd like for you to go through related to your leadership initiative. And then repeat this exercise, okay, until you can authentically choose. Now, once again, you may go through this process a few times. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about having it all worked out before the first 3 days. Okay, Brian.
Okay, everyone, we appreciate we're going through this rather quickly. As Kelly said, we're not expecting you to get everything that we're talking about. And as a follow-up, we do have one-on-one calls. So you'll have a call with either Kelly or with myself or with John. And the context of those calls and the purpose of the one-on-one conversations is that it's a safe and confidential space, and that it allows TLC, the Leader Circle, to authentically listen to you and address any of your considerations, any of your questions, and any of your yeah buts. And that it's designed to set you up to powerfully launch yourself into the Being a Leader and the Effective Exercise of Leadership program without any warm-up. And then our agenda for the one-on-one conversations will include getting connected to you, you to us, and us to you. And we'll go over some interview questions. So I'm going to go over them rather quickly here on this next slide, just so you can get a sense of them. And we'll send all 8 of them out to you ahead of time. You don't have to write them out. You don't have to send us an email. We're just giving you a sense of the dialogue, the conversation we want to have with you. So part of us getting connected, we want to hear about your role, your accountability, and your work history. Number 2, what prior leadership or ontological training have you been engaged with? If you don't know ontological, it's the study and science of being for human being. It's going to be spelled out more in your pre-reading. Number 3, what about your current role most inspires you? What about working here do you find fulfilling or empowering? Number 4, what aspect of working here do you find challenging? And 5, given what you've heard so far about the upcoming Being a Leader program, what questions or considerations or yeah buts do you have? And what specific outcomes of your upcoming Being a Leader program would represent a breakthrough for you, for your team at Earls, or for you in the world? And what are you creating for your leadership initiative? And again, you might be going, well, geez, I just blasted through that. So we will work with you when we have this one-on-one call as well. And again, as Kelly said, it's not critical that you have it all worked out, the leadership initiative by July 24th, but we want to engage with you and have you continue to do the thinking and speculating. And then lastly, what else would you like us to know that we haven't already said? So John and Kelly and I are relating to you like you're up to something big, and you'll have us from July all the way through when we complete the program in September 10th with our final webinar call. You'll have us as your coaches and committed listeners. So this is a way for us to deepen our connection to you. Okay, now everyone, given we've got about 5 minutes left in our scheduled call, Kelly, I'm going to ask her to just go over the fact that we have some assignments, and then we'll send them out to you, and then we'll take a couple of minutes to hear from people what you're taking away from the call.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is all in your pre-course reading materials, but we're asking you to come to the first day with this memorized, and this is inside the integrity conversation, what I said I would do or not do, what I know to do or not do. So this is to be memorized. And like I said, you'll have all this information. And then assignment 2 is that you come to the first day able to say the following cascaded sentence. So we want you to get, as you're starting to get this, as your natural self-expression. Okay, and then assignment 3, we request that you come to the first day with, really, this is the outline of the leadership program in the 6 days, the 4 foundational factors and the 4 aspects of the contextual framework, and then the the two kinds of ontological constraints. And make sure you read the rules of the game before the course begins.
Okay, everyone. I failed in my management of our conversation to give you adequate time for a lot of questions. We've got 3 minutes left.
We actually, Brian, they're scheduled till after 2:30. It was 2:30 to 3:45, 1:30 to 2:45. We've still got a half an hour.
Is that so, Rob?
Yes, it is.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, what questions do you have? Or comments, or what's there for you about what we've gone over so far?
Just for the one-on-one questions, those are going to be answered by us in these one-on-one interviews. Is that correct?
Yes. Is that Patrick that was speaking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick. So we don't mean to make it an official interview. We have those questions as a guideline. So our intention is to get connected to you. Our intention is to fulfill on what really matters to you when we have time with you in the course. So that's why we're doing the one-on-ones, and that's when we'll address those questions. Yes.
Okay, great. It's not going to be limited to those questions, though.
Correct.
No, it really supports us in personalizing and customizing, in our own listening, the difference that is there to be made, with any kind of, patterns in the culture and like that. So it's very helpful for us. And that's the thing that's so great that Rob brought up about being able to do this course together in-house, because, each of you, bring your unique contribution, and we get to address it in-house. So there's a real freedom there that we get in just being with just you.
Great, thank you.
Hi, it's Gareth speaking. I just had a question about the initiative. I'm still not 100% clear on it. I think I know what you're asking for, but I think for me more the question is, we don't have to have an initiative picked prior to the first sessions in Vancouver. Like we might get more context then.
Go ahead, Kelly.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. One of the things I found is a lot of people come in with ideas, and then after the first 3 days, that gets altered, because exactly what you said, you've got more context, you've got more distinction. You have, the world kind of opens up more for you. So exactly, if you just go through the exercise, it'll help support your being prepared for that time. Does that make sense, Garrett?
Yeah, that's very helpful for me. Thank you.
Gareth, is there a particular aspect you want to get us going? If you bring to mind something for yourself, and I know we went through that rather quickly, what comes to mind of something that occurs to you if you look here?
Well, I mean, for me, I'd heard about a few people, obviously, that had done the Being a Leader course before, and so I'd put some thought into it prior. Community is what jumps out to me. Like my initial thoughts are, the last thing I want to do is something about work.
Yeah. So
I'm happy that got brought up, because for me, like, community is what jumped out to me right away. And of course that may change. So I'm happy to hear that, go through the exercise, the first 3 days might change my context on it. So that's very helpful for me, for sure.
Great, Gareth. And then as Kelly was coaching earlier, you could get with a buddy prior to the course. So you could take community, and you can start to have a conversation with a buddy. Okay, why community is really important to me, why it matters to me. what's my already always listening? And I know, again, you might not know some of these terms, everyone. So the pre-reading will reinforce and deepen what we mean by like what's already there for you, Gareth, regarding community. And the rest of these questions are designed so you're actually doing the thinking and getting it going well before we're together on the 24th.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Very helpful.
Yeah, thank you. It's great. Well, now that I found out we have an extra half hour, I'm just bringing myself back. Okay, sorry about rushing us there, guys. Thanks for that question. Who else? What else?
Do we have any people who were just completely confused? It's like, oh, I have no idea what I'm in front of right now.
The language of the course is actually very similar to what we're used to. So I think for me, going through the slideshow, I'm actually very familiar with a lot of the terms, and so that could be why you're getting a lot of silence.
Okay, we appreciate that, Patrick. Yeah, for some of you, right, it'll take something to really look with fresh eyes. And, you know, and you can imagine the difference between 6 days and all the other distinctions beyond, you know, the 2 days. It's going to be fun to get to be in that exploration for 6 days.
Well, what are you, just building off of what Patrick said, we would like to hear, I would like to hear from some other people. What are you left saying to yourself? What, if anything, are you excited about it? Is it like, oh, here we go again in the call? I can't quite tell.
Hi guys, it's Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.
I just want to say I am really excited about it. I just wondered when, how soon after this do we do the one-on-one calls, and how are you coordinating them all? Or, you know, when can we? I'm just thinking we all have pretty busy schedules, and you obviously want to leave yourself enough time to actually truly connect. So
brilliant, great question. And John, I'll let you expand on the logistics of that. We're going to be starting to schedule them with you starting next week. So John, do you want to talk through how that's going to happen?
Yeah, you'll be contacted by Robin Murray. She's an assistant with our group, with the Leader Circle. She'll be reaching out to you individually to book an hour block. The call will probably take 30 minutes to 45 minutes, but you'll get an invitation for an hour. And she'll work with you to get it set up between next week. So I guess that'll actually be Tuesday. She'll be reaching out to you. And, or at least for the call, she'll be reaching out to you actually starting tomorrow, sorry. The calls will start from July 2nd through till about the 18th. We want to have everything done and wrapped up well before we get started. So they'll be reaching out to you directly, or she will be.
I have a question about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chelsea.
Okay, awesome. Nice to meet all of you. My question is, would we have an opportunity, given a time slot, if it doesn't work in our schedule, to negotiate a different time? The reason why I'm asking is just from sort of next week on till July 14th is very hectic at my store for the Stampede. So if there was room for negotiation in whatever time slot we're given.
Absolutely. If there's an opportunity, you talk to Robin, because she'll have our schedules.
Okay.
We're flexible. If there's something before that, that's fine. Yeah.
Awesome.
She won't be just blocking a spot and telling you what it is to start with. She'll be reaching out and finding out, you know, what your opportunities are based on what our schedules are, and you can pick your spot. And if nothing works, she'll work with you to figure something out.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I've gone through being a leader, I think 3 or 4 times now, but I think definitely a little nervous because this is different. Same, but different. So yeah, I'm excited about it, a little bit nervous, but looking forward to trying this course in a different way.
Awesome. Great,
That's
Chelsea.
great, Chelsea. You know, one of the things you guys will notice now that you're saying that, Chelsea, you make me think of in the pre-course reading materials, our agreement is to have the pre-course reading materials be exactly as designed. So when you're reading them, it'll say you have old men who don't remember people's names and things like that in there. It'll be like, what? You know, because it's the actual pre-course reading materials that were designed originally. And that's part of our agreement, is to do that. So you might have a few of those in there that'll be, you know, we're probably going to be able to remember your name. I don't think we're that old, so.
Yeah, great. Yeah, as you'll read, or maybe some of you know, the same program has been led at the London School of Economics, Harvard Business School, the United States Air Force Academy. I mean, it's leading edge. So it's quite unique that your organization is bringing it to you this way, like the real deal, all 6 days. And from our experience, it's phenomenal. And we're not just simply taking it off the shelf and doing it to you. That's why we're connecting to you. That's why we want to get to know you with the one-on-ones. We want to find out what your leadership initiative is. And we're raising the game where the three of us are each time as well to deliver on what you're up to.
Ryan, you mentioned connecting with Ryan Emerson here.
You're right.
You mentioned connecting with a partner about our leadership exercise. Is that going to be something we just determine, or are we being paired up?
Yeah, very good, Ryan. Yeah, you can determine it. Absolutely, you can determine it. You know, do what works for you. Some people have used their significant other to bounce things off of before the course. Some people, you know, you look across, you've got a buddy. Some people in our courses, and it's not unusual for people to say they get a lot out of the connection that they have with colleagues that they even have known, quote unquote, for a period of time. So absolutely, your call.
Ryan, there was a chat question, if I could just address that.
Yeah, please, John.
The question was just simply how do they access the reading materials and all of that information? And you'll actually be given a link. Rob and I are working together. Rob's going to send you a link that site will have all of the reading material, the assignments, all the information that you require, and you'll have that within 24 hours.
And I have found that it really does work to have it with you at the program. You know, it's great to be able to go back to when you're there. So bring the pre-course reading materials with you. We'll be giving you a binder that you can put your pre-course reading materials in.
I do want to just kind of mention about the pre-course reading briefly here. It is really important that you do finish it. You keep your word that you're gonna do it, because it does truly set you up for the rest of the course. What I would say is that it is written in a way that makes you slow down a bit. So like, don't think that you're going to be able to rush through it right away, because it is written in a way that does cause you to slow down and really kind of digest the information. You know, for me, I found that there was times like, oh, Jesus Christ, why did you just spend 4 pages talking about this that you could have just wrapped up in a paragraph? So know that going into it, because like, you're going to see it. And if you're like me, you're like, oh, no big deal. I'll just finish this the night before. Don't do that. Give yourself enough time to really sit down and read through the material. And I would really just encourage you to read to read it over, but don't be concerned if you're not getting it right away, because that's what the whole point of the course is for, is to go through it and really digest it that way. So if it's not making sense right away, don't get frustrated and leave it. Really kind of push through and keep going after it.
Great. Okay, well, I changed the screen on my computer so I can see a whole group of people I didn't see a few moments ago. But anything for you, Andrew, or for you, Cam, or Justin, or Jared?
Brian, it's Cam here.
You can.
No, it's I guess the biggest thing for me is myself and my business partners. We've been teaching this course for the 2-day course, not your course, our like condensed simmered down course for a few years now, and it's I'm very excited to be on the other side of it, and it's always been something that I wanted to be able to go to the 6-day course. Not necessarily because I want to go to Mexico or Hawaii. I mean, that would be nice, wherever it was held. But I think this is, I think Kelly was saying that this is going to be much more thought put into this, more as lived. And yeah, I think that obviously I get lots, even when I teach it. But I think to go through this is going to be, obviously this is my game to play, so I'm excited to make it game changing. So it's exciting. So thank you.
Thank you. Cam, it really makes a difference. You came off mute and you said that, you know, because I know for myself, Kelly, John, and I, although we lead this, we have coaches and we put ourselves, you know, at least 12 times a year, we're sitting in chairs on the other side. And I know for myself, it takes something. Well, and I appreciate the way by which you're looking at it newly and you're taking this on. Thank you, Cam.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
And Cam, you know, I'm one of the most experienced leaders of this program in the world. And so it's really my privilege, you know, along with Brian and John, to really open up this world in a new way for you, even given all the effort and distinguishing you've already done.
Love it. Thank you.
Okay, well, last call.
Before we sign off, Brian, I do have a couple of things I wanted to ask when you're done.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, just checking because I want to make sure that people that weren't here do get the recording. And I know some of you, there's a couple of you that doubled up, and then there might be people using someone else's computer. So there were just 4 names I wanted to double check and see if you are here, if you could just come off mute and say that you are so that I know. Ellie from head office, are you here? Aha, doubled up. Thank you, Ellie, I appreciate that. Jennifer from head office? Looks like not.
What last name is?
Well, I can read it. It's Loquio.
It's Jen. She's here.
Okay, so she goes by Jen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then the last one was Kelly. Kelly Zhang.
She's here. She's here with us in the room.
Oh, great. Perfect. Well, that's 100% then. Thank you very much.
And Kirsten Vecteris joined us as well, so she heard the audio.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, she let us know she had audio difficulty earlier. Thank you. I've got a question on Jenny. Jenny, I've got a different last name for you. Kelsey, or is it LeDurk, or are you 2 separate people?
No, same person. You can go with Dirk. Thanks for checking.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Jenny Lee Dirk. It's not Jenny LeDurk.
No.
I got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. All right. John, anything else, or Kelly, anything else before we give Rob the last word?
Oh, just excited to be with you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to meeting everybody in person.
I'll get my time zones right for how long the time is next time too. So sorry I rushed you. Rob, anything?
Wow, give me the last word. That's great. I'm just going to go. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for keeping your word and having integrity with this call. It's a really great step as we go through the practice of integrity. And I really ask you to think about your leadership initiative and really what that could look like. And also, if you can't think of anything right off the bat, that's part of the work. So don't beat yourself up. Don't make yourself wrong if you can't think of anything. And really go after it. It's one of the really great parts of this course. It's what Christina used to launch her view from the top. I don't know if everyone remembers that from last year or earlier this year around giving initiative and giving voice to the females at Earls, and it was a game changer for a lot of our culture. So know that it can have a big impact at Earls or a big impact in your life or community. It's very exciting. So with that, I also want to thank everyone for getting their grant application stuff done for me. Holy shit, that was a lot of work, and we were able to get all the information from you on time. So thank you so much for being so quick to respond to my emails and questions. Yeah, and that's it.
See you one-on-one. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Well
you.
done, Rob.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Are you guys staying on?
Yeah, we are.
All right, well, enjoy. Kelly, it's nice to see you. John,
Great to
take
meet
care. And
you.
Brian, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Rob.
Bye.
John, the recording?